zvakanyanyisa kukwidza volume yenyu zvakanyanyisa munorova low naika low volume yanga ichingoitwa nevadiki iyoyi ndo yamuri kungorovawo nayo iyoyo low saka munogona kurova song isina high tempo nai iri low kuitira kuti zvinyatsoita zvakanaka. Fungai kuti mungarova ipi ipapa iri low isinga disturb briefing. Deredzai volume yenyu ana baba. Volume ana baba. Volume. Thank you, brass band. You can hold Makadaro Naiga. Tinem youth man aripo. About one song yake, a song that has to do with today's event. So anonzi tulani andiriga Tom support Tom Simbisa tulani Manyam ground uchirovekwa namba tirinzwe naika ngati musapotei anotosimudzwa nesu ndisu vanhu vacho hoyo icho chibaba icho eka tisi tinotomusimbisa.
We see the silence in the young girl's eyes, dreams fading before they even rise. Too much pain for a child to hold, stories of tomorrow already sold. A boy lost in a cloud of smoke, future burning with every toe. We can't sit back, we can't ignore, this is the fight we're standing for. Not in my village, not in my country. Kwete kumusha kwangu, kwete munyika yangu.
Uyo. Exhibition stands, get ready. Exhibition stands, representatives, you need to be on your positions. Ivai panzvimbo penyu ku exhibition stands tamirira imimi. Pake hamsati maapo pake. Public service gazebo hamsati maapo. He's got a future, don't let it fall. No more drugs destroying all. This is our call. Together we rise, together we stand tall. Rangari raivana vetu, ndivora mangwana, banga bantwana. Haiku sasa letu, ngati vachengeteze nerudorese. Asibavikele, sibanike itemba, not in my village, not in my country. Kwete, kwete, hati bumi, not in my school. We say no, child marriage must go. Asiko, city child. Teen pregnancy, no more. Rise up voices, loud and free. This is our fight, this is our story. I was born into a world where silence was louder than screams, where a child could become a bride before she even understood her dreams. But today I break that silence. Kwete handi vumi. A girl is not a wife, she's a future doctor, teacher, leader, she is life. Asiko, city child. A boy is not a statistic, lost in drugs and broken streets. He is power, he is purpose, he's more than defeat. Not in my village, where culture should protect, not destroy. Not in my country, where laws must speak louder than tradition. Not in my school, where every desk should hold a dream, not a burden. I stand for the girl who cried in the dark, for the boy who lost his spark. chirova ichaiko chaiko manje handeitioni tipei nhamba chairo chairo rinoita kuti tihwe madhlabuzani. Traditional dance gadzirirai ndimuri kutevera, muri kutambira vakuru vachipinda. Brass band 5 minutes. piece. One last piece, just for 2 minutes. Traditional dance, munogona kuti sanopinda ground. Muchigadzirira. Brass band, one last piece. Traditional dance, pindai ground. Muri kuimba nokutambira vakuru vedu vachipinda. Traditional dance ichipinda maoko. Brass band traditional dance ichimbobuda muri kuti leader into national anthem. Saka faster ndidika.
Vose vakamira ngati pinde mumatensi edu pane tendere white iro rine macheya asina vanhu vari pazuva avo. Pindai mutendere white riri pakona apo. Pindai mutendere iroro mugare ipapo. Macheya ndenyu ayo. Macheya iwayo ndenyu. Get ready. Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Services. Traditional dance. We have our own resources. Isusu tine zvinhu zvedu seMashonaland East Province. We welcome you all to Mashonaland East Province. Apo tiri kuparura chirongwa chino chataka kutambirai kuMashonaland East Province. Tine tsika namagariro edu. Idzo tsika dzinenge dzakazemberwa dzichinyatsokwenzverwa namadzimambo edu atinawo muMashonaland Province. Iye zvino patiri pano pasi radzikamira
uve pano pakati pedu pana madzishe chief nechombo vari pano mofuye mkono soko vari pano chief chinamhora chief mdzimwirema kumene tinavo pano chief chiwota mazvimba kupa vari pano tine zvakare maheadmen abva kwakasiyana siyana namasabhuku edu tichicherechedza kuchengetedzwa kwetsika takanangana nevana vechidiki kuti vasabatire pamuviri vachiri vadiki uyezve vasapinda muna izvo zvinoita kuti vagobatira pamuviri vari vana vadiki. Thank you very much. Zimbabwe President Correctional Services Traditional Dance. Kwedu tinotambira vanhu nemutambo watinoti mbende Jerusalema. Vakuru vedu vachisvika tinokumbirawo kusimuka zvine mufaro. Tinokumbirawo zvakare vana vechikoro chinhu ndechenyu ichi. Pano handisi kufamba ndega naika. Tine one and only murungu wedu ari pano all the way from Masingo uko. Pano ndina baba afadzi wani munhu wekuti ukateerera Power FM unomunzwa. Vakuru vedu vari pa last exhibition stand. Vari pa last exhibition stand. Manje vanenge vauya. Ngati tinogona kumbogara zvedu pavanenge vakufamba tinganeta. Vari pa last exhibition stand. Baba afadzi. Muri kuzviona sei zviri panapa izvi?
Indo hakufara tichiona chitata mutambwi chakadai chavanhu tavunganira nyaya yakakosha yekuzivisa nyika yose comrade kuti mwanasikana a girl is not a wife. Ndichiremba wamangwana, ndidhokota wamangwana. Ngatifarire ZPCS traditional dance. Maoko maoko maoko.
Pamsoroi vanoremekedzwa tisivakomana nevasikana vemarondera pizini tauya kuzokupai mutambo wejerusarema uyo mutambo werudo tichiti vakuru nevadiki siyai nyaya yekumitisa vana vachiri vadiki.
Mazviwa ngatisimukei vakuru vedu vachipinda.
Mount Sectoral Framework on Prevention and Management of Adolescent Pregnancies in Zimbabwe. Tino kutambira iya wakeso funa kuno kumashona na east. Tino kutambira iya mutambo wedu wembende Jerusalema wamangatarisana na uyo. Vakurata udobidobi utakunanza wakateka mashona na east province. This is Zimbabwe Prison Correctional Services. Vana vechikoro ngandisina kukuudzai kuti ndine mubayiro ikundo. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Services. Batai Magadaro. Batai Magadaro. Batai Magadaro. Thank you very much. With your permission, our guest of honor say, Ditenderei takamira kudaro titungamirirwe neZimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Services kuimba national anthem yedu. Varume vane nguwani tinokumbira kuti bvise dzisiri dzebasa. Thank you. With your permission, our guest of honor, Mungato, Zikaroze, Garapasi, Snokumbirao, Pastor, Vauye, Vatisitire, Wokunama.
Jesu itinamata muzita raBaba neremwanakomana neremweya mutsvene. Baba, tinokutendai munguva ino yanhasi. Tinokutendai Mwari nekuda kwechipo cheupenyu matitendera kuti tisvike panzvimbo ino, kwete nekungwara kwedu kana kuziva kwedu, asi dzose dzingori nyasha dzenyu. Imi Ishe wedu vanogara nekusingaperi. Tinonamata Baba nekuda kweungano ino yatinoisa mukati memaoko enyu, tichinamata kuti ngairopafadzwe ikomborerwe nemi. Zvose zvichaitwa panzvimbo ino Mwari tazvikumikidza mukati memaoko enyu. Tinokutendai Baba nekuda kwenyika yedu Zimbabwe. Tinokutendai Baba wokudenga neutungamiri hwatiinahwo. Tinokutendai Baba wokudenga nezvose tinoisa mukati memaoko enyu. Saunganire pasiri tinamata namatira tiisa mukati memaoko enyu kuti urongwa ihwohwo Baba tisava zvakare kupfurikidza Baba nekubatana kwevanhu vose vakasiyana siyana neshungu dzekuti vana vedu vakure mune zvakanaka. Tabvisa zvose izvi mukati memaoko enyu Baba. Tanamatira Baba wokudenga neutungamiri hwose huri pano ngaukombore muvape chezvete maita simudzirwa kukudzwa kukusingaperi. Zita raBaba Jesu vanogara nekusingaperi. Amen.
Maita zvakanaka Pastor. Our guest of honor say, regai ndikuzivisei kuti chirongwa chino chamuri kuparura zuva ranhasi chiri muchitsuwa chamambo Chikwaka, mambo Matemai, mambo Goromonzi. Naizvozvo tinokumbirawo kuti muzukuru wamambo auye atishitsirewo maoko kuna mambo. Regai ndikuzivisei our guest of honor muzukuru achiuya kuti mambo vana mamwe madzimambo ari kuvatsigira vari pano. Tina chief nechombo mhofu vari pano our guest of honor. Tina chief Chinamora Soko vari pano. Chief Mudzimuirema Kumete vari pakati pedu. Chief Chivota Mazvipakupa tinavo zvakare vari pakati pedu. Chiregai tiise maoko kuna Matemai.
Ana mai nana baba tichauchira katatu tisati takwazisana na mambo edu ari pakati pedu. Ana mai motipawo mhuru zvakare ikoko. Mhuru kana mai samanyanga nokukwazisai naremu renyaungana chikomeni mugorombodzi chibatadza naishe chiika tinokukwazisai muri pakati pedu. Semadzimambo ataurwa tina mambo Chinamora vose namambo Rusike. Tinokukwazisai futi zuva ranhasi uyai muri kuti chingamidza kai tiri pakati pemutambo watiri kuita mukati medunhu redu regoromonzi. Tinokukwazisai mambo Chihota, mambo Mudzimirema tinokukwazisai. Tina chichi nechombo mhofu Museyama guru wangu uyu tinokukwazisai vakuru vedu. Ngazvirambe zvakadaro tinokukwazisai mambo madzimambo. Ngatiuchirei.
Maita zvakanaka. Kana zvadai tinoti pasi pateramira. Kana zvadai tinoti vari kunyika dzimo vakuchititungamirira naMwari vachititungamirira zvakare. Chinditenderai panguva ino our guest of honor say ndimboti ZPCS ingoti mbichana ndisati ndasimudza our Honorable Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution for Mashonaland East Province kuti vatitambire muno mudunhu reGoromonzi. ZPCS mongoti turu.
Nevene vayo murune muridzoko vafarire vanokona ava iwe
Ona mwana wako hivi, ona sikutika. Yai! Batai Magadaro. Thank you. Pachinenge chotsuka chakukwatapo tomboti batai Magadaro. Thank you Magadaro. Panguva ino our guest of honor Regai Ndidedze, Secretary for Provincial Affairs and Devolution for Mashonaland East Province, Mr. T. Kutama Ufa, Nasi Office Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, vakamirirwa na Director Dzukwa vatisimudzirewo Honorable Minister.
Director of Ceremony, our guests of honor, Honorable Edgar Moyo, Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Advocate Ainduzo, Minister of Primary and Secondary Education, Honorable Moyo, being represented by Ms. Nuwe, our Provincial PD, PS Kunaka, Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, PS Kutama Ufa, Secretary for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, our development partners, Resident Coordinator, represented by Miranda, our UNFPA, Dr. Sisi, UNESCO, being represented by Dr. Patricia Machawira, our child president, councillors here present, party leadership here present, Madzimambo Edu, Chief Nechombo, Chief Chinamora, Chief Midzimirema, Chief Chiwota, government officials here present, let me say all protocols observed. I am here to invite our provincial Minister of State for Advocate Ainduzo to come and give his opening remarks. Honorable Minister, sir.
To the guest of honor, the Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, Honorable Edgar Moyo. Let me also acknowledge all the other honorable ministers and deputy ministers as represented. Allow me to acknowledge the presence of the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, Mr. P. Kunaka. Allow me to acknowledge the presence of our traditional leadership as we gather here in the territory of Chief Senator Chikwaka. But I'm delighted that we have the presence of Chief Senator Nechombo Mofu tinokuremekedzai pamwe nemadzimambo ose ataurwa pano. Ndaona baba vangu vachina mhora, mazvimba kupa, mambo Chiwota, sekuri Midzimirema vari pano nemamwe madzimambo ose ari pano. I acknowledge the Secretary for Provincial Affairs and Devolution as represented by Director Zukwa. Also the heads of different ministries, departments and agencies of government. Our partners from the UN, I've seen my good sister here, Miranda, from UNFPA with a deputy. I've also seen Dr. Machawira, and I think Dr. Machawira deserves special mention as she's returning to her old school. She's now serving the United Nations, and she's here as an alumni of Goromonzi High School of Mashonaland East Province. I should add and emphasize. We've also received representatives from UNAIDS, UNICEF, UNESCO, UN Women, and different development partners. Allow me to also acknowledge members of the Fourth Estate. Ladies and gentlemen, it is of course with deep humility and renewed purpose that I warmly welcome you all to this historic multi-sectoral framework launch on the prevention and management of adolescent pregnancies in Zimbabwe. Today we gather at a turning point in our fight against a troubling reality, the reality of adolescent pregnancy. Ladies and gentlemen, my role is to welcome you all and thank you for having chosen Mashonaland East Province as the launchpad for such an important province. Honorable guest of honor and your esteemed delegates, you know that the sun, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, the sun will always rise from the East. You are also aware, guest of honor, even as you read the word of God, that there is only one direction in which wise men were deemed to come from. The wise men were deemed to come from the East. So on this important occasion, we are truly thankful that you have chosen to launch this critically important program in Mashonaland East. Distinguished guests, as we launch this framework today, Mashonaland East Province is also stepping forward boldly, responsibly, and collectively. We are here geared to strengthen coordination across sectors, empower communities, and guide our young people with knowledge and compassion to ensure that support systems are firm, are fair, and are fully accessible. Invited guests, your presence today is a clear demonstration to the spirit of partnership and cooperation that continues to guide our national development efforts as we steer the ship of our national development under National Development Strategy 2, which is the final and critical phase as we move towards an upper middle income economy by the year 2030. As Mashonaland East Province, we are proud to see this commitment move from promise to tangible action as we jointly design and implement solutions for the well-being and future of our children and young people, guided by the whole government and the whole of society approach under the able, visionary, and astute leadership of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Dr. Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. Guest of honor, we commend the courageous leadership shown by our traditional leaders through the Not in My Village campaign, an initiative that has strengthened community-level action to protect children and uphold their fundamental rights. Building on this momentum, I am honored to officially launch the Not in My Province, Not in My District, Not in My Ward, and even Not in My Family campaign against adolescent pregnancies. Let us come together, coordinate our efforts, and embrace shared responsibility so that no child is left behind and every adolescent is enabled to flourish and achieve their full potential. Guest of honor, to quote my luminary president, in whatever we do, we must ensure that we leave no person and we leave no place behind. Once again, I welcome you all. To our guests of honor, we thank you for honoring this cause with your presence. Let us launch this framework with determination so that every adolescent in Mashonaland East can live in a safer, stronger, and brighter tomorrow. I thank you. Ndatenda siyabonga.
Maoko zvakare. Thank you. Kana zvadai tinoti tatambirwa. Chitenderai panguva ino Sectoral College. Sectoral College chigadzirira. Regai tingokuzivisai our guest of honor kuti pakati pedu tinama provincial heads from Mashonaland East Province. Vari pano vauya vakatsigira chirongwa ichochi. Tine zvakare musangano wedu unotonga leadership yao weZANU-PF iri pano yose yakatsigira chirongwa ichochi. Yakatungamirirwa nevakamiririra provincial chairman wedu wemsangano kuno kuMashonaland East Province. Maheadmaster ose ari pano ari kutsigira chirongwa chakanaka ichochi tinawo pano our guest of honor. Vana vezvikoro vari pano vabva kuzvikoro zvakasiyana siyana muMashonaland East Province tinawo pano nekuti chirongwa chiri pano chakanangana nawo. Saka vauya vose nehuwandu hwavo. Tine mawo veterans edu auya zvakare akatsigira achiti hatina kurwira unhu hwakadaro hwekuti vana vadiki vanowanikwa vachiita pamuviri vagokanganiswa upenyu hwavo kuenderera mberi. Tinawo pano vakatsigira zvakare chirongwa ichochi sezvatamboreva madzimambo edu tinawo pano. Regai nditi handisi kufamba ndega pano, ndina baba Afadzi vanovaziva vanovazivira kuPower FM naye my co-MC. Right, takatarisana neSecond Teachers College. Baba Afadzi.
Mazvita ndokutendai ndofaravo sezvabwereketwa. Ndinonzi MC Baafadzi, one munhu akatsvuka zvisiri zvekubleacher. Mukaranga wakabva masvingoneshoka. Nhasi tine mufaro wamandiriri nchiona chitamutambwi chakadai. Mufaro wamandiriri, mufaro wamakwirivindi, mufaro wamangwingwindo, mufaro wamamondorokwati, mufaro wamadambura kudashu. Ndipovo mhuru nemuridzoka uchifara. Comrade maita basa nokundipa chibura ichi. Ndandichivabvunza comrade nchiti dai president vari pano nhasi guest of honor vaizoverenga thimu iyi vachiti the multi-sectoral framework on the prevention and management of adolescent pregnancies in Zimbabwe. This framework is important because it helps us to unite to end adolescent pregnancies. That could give us unity and development towards Vision 2030. Nyika inovakwa navene vayo. Lizwe liakiwa ngavanikazi vavo. Pamberi nekubatana, pamberi nekubatana. Kana usingafari uri mandu, kana ukavona uchitsigira zvinhu zvakashata zvinoshabwa kudai zvokumitisa vadoko pasine mandu. Second Teachers College, ladies and gentlemen, varoverei maoko. chamanyama.
Secretariat College, Batai Magadaro. Batai Magadaro. Batai Magadaro. Our guest of honor say, Titenderei panguva ino, ndisimudze coordinator vakamirira ma-development partners pano, the UN resident coordinator vauye pano vatipewo mashoko avo. May the UN resident coordinator come and give your remarks. Mashoko avo.
The Third Republic sets me up, I would like to call upon my colleagues from the United Nations agencies that are being represented here. UNESCO, Dr. Patricia, can you join me here? Do we have UNICEF? UNAIDS Director, can you join me? Yeah. Excellent. Just stand around me to the moral support and to demonstrate the uniqueness and oneness that the United Nations has embraced this initiative from the onset. Guests of honor, the Minister of Labor and Social Welfare, Minister of State, Mashonaland, thank you so much for welcoming us in your beautiful sunshine city. UNICEF. Excellent, UN Women. Excellent. Honorable Minister, you can see how we are coordinated, delivering as one. I was saying that we are very, very grateful and happy as a United Nations family to be welcome and be part of this landmark initiative to launch the Adolescent National Framework on the Prevention and Management of Adolescent Pregnancies in Zimbabwe. When we were briefing the Honorable Minister, the Permanent Secretary said that the situation is a delicate issue. Adolescent pregnancy is a delicate issue. The Minister of State, Mashonaland, has also emphasized on that. And we know also as a UN that it's a very delicate issue. And that's why when we reflected, we came together as a UN to support this initiative. So it's a profound honor for us to be part of this launch. And this launch actually follows closely the heels of the successful launch of the National Youth Empowerment Strategy 2026-2030 that the United Nations also was privileged to support the government of Zimbabwe to launch last year. And again, it is also coming just after the cabinet approved the National Youth Policy 2026-2030. So these fundamental pillars, or three framework documents, and the one we're going to launch today, signifies government's extraordinary strong leadership, cohesive and accelerated commitment to really address the holistic issues, including this adolescent pregnancy that the country is facing. The 2023 National Assessment of Adolescent Pregnancies, Honorable Minister, we know the details of what that staggering data was to the nation. And we supported the government to put that data out there. That's why we are hearing of the landmark initiatives that are happening. The Provincial Secretary talked about not in my village campaign, not in my family, not in my ward. And we hope we are going to one day say not in my country, Honorable Minister. So according to the statistics, just to give highlights on the statistics of this framework assessment that we did, a staggering rise of teenage pregnancy in Zimbabwe to 22% in 2023, up to 9% from the previous years. It is not acceptable. The human scale of the assessment also shows from the Zimbabwe Demographic Health Survey Report 2023-2024 that it targets our young girls aged 15 to 19. That is the very age that we have in terms of childbearing age. It is not acceptable. For us, the United Nations will see these as interrupted dreams. But we say, even if it's interrupted, there is a way to come out of the crisis. Despite over 358,000 adolescent girls in Zimbabwe falling pregnant in the country, represented and always contributing to 25% of maternal mortality in the country. So, Honorable Minister, the United Nations family is very, very happy, and we are here to celebrate this integrated approach to address this very delicate issue. So what is our commitment as a United Nations family? At the very onset, the United Nations, right now, we are actually developing our United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework. Honorable Minister, guests of honor, this framework is our commitment and our promise and our partnership with the government of Zimbabwe to support its national priorities to achieve its middle income status. So this cooperation framework is our foundational document, and in it we have a critical pillar on human capital within which issues that we are addressing here today fall into. So for us, as I conclude and make it very simple, Honorable Minister, we want to appreciate the government and your leadership, the leadership of the Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare, that you have adopted a whole of government and a whole of society approach to champion this initiative and ensure that we work together to address this vice. So the launch today represents not just a policy framework, it's a strategic shift towards domestic and national ownership. By integrating the successful Not in My Village campaign model, we are actually empowering traditional leaders who are also represented here to act as the primary accountability officers for our adolescent and young people. As a United Nations system, our joint effort and support for this initiative is a testament of our commitment to sustain these gains long into the future, moving from not only supporting aid, but to ensure that we are collectively aligned and ensure that our young people's potential are fulfilled. Together, through this approach, we will ensure and we reiterate our commitment to say that every young person's potential in Zimbabwe survives, thrives, and realizes, and the potential is fulfilled. Thank you very much, Tatenda Siabonga.
Maoko, 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 Maoko. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, ma'am, for the remarks. UN Resident Coordinator, our guest of honor, please allow us from this juncture to invite civil society and NGO consortium for a statement from them. Let's give a round of applause for civil society and NGO consortium.
Good morning to you all. Program Director, Honorable Ministers and government officials, representatives of development partners, traditional and religious leaders, fellow civil society organizations, distinguished guests, guests of honor, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. On behalf of the civil society and NGO consortium, it is my honor as the acting director of Shangwari Mwanatskana to deliver this statement at the launch of the National Multi-Sectoral Framework for the Prevention and Management of Adolescent Pregnancies in Zimbabwe. Today marks an important milestone in our collective efforts to safeguard the rights, well-being, and the future of Zimbabwe's adolescents. We commend the government of Zimbabwe, development partners, and all stakeholders who contributed to the development of the comprehensive framework. The framework demonstrates our shared commitment to addressing adolescent pregnancy as a national priority, requiring coordinated action across all sectors. As civil society organizations, we have witnessed firsthand the devastating impacts that adolescent pregnancies can have on the lives of girls, their families, and communities. Adolescent pregnancy often interrupts education, increases vulnerability to poverty, exposes girls to gender-based violence and child marriage, and limits opportunities for personal growth and economic empowerment. The evidence clearly shows that adolescent pregnancy is not merely a health issue. It is a child protection, education, gender equality, social justice, and development issue. It reflects broader challenges, including poverty, harmful social norms, sexual violence, inadequate access to information and services, and unequal opportunities for girls and young women. We therefore welcome the framework's recognition that lasting solutions require a multi-sectoral and a whole society approach. We particularly applaud the emphasis on prevention, protection, education, adolescent responsive, health services, social protection, community engagement, economic empowerment, and accountability. As the civil society and NGO consortium, we reaffirm our commitment to support community-level awareness and behavior change initiatives aimed at preventing adolescent pregnancies, strengthen child protection systems to identify, refer, support vulnerable adolescents, promote girls' education, and advocate for the retention and readmission of pregnant learners and adolescent mothers. Engage parents, caregivers, traditional leaders, religious leaders, men and boys in transforming harmful norms and practices. Support access to adolescent-friendly health and psychosocial services. Generate evidence and contribute to monitoring, evaluation, learning, and accountability mechanisms that strengthen implementation of the framework. Amplify the voices and participation of adolescents in decisions that affect their lives. We also recognize that implementation will be the true test of our commitments. The success of this framework will depend on sustainable political will, adequate resource allocation, strong partnerships, and meaningful participation of communities and young people themselves. To our adolescents, especially the girls, we want to send a clear message. Your dreams are valid, your rights matter, and your future is worth protecting. Every girl deserves the opportunity to complete her education, live free from violence and exploitation, access quality services, and achieve her full potential. As civil society, we stand ready to work hand in hand with government, development partners, communities, and adolescents themselves to ensure that the aspirations of this framework become a reality. Together, let us build a Zimbabwe where every adolescent is safe, healthy, empowered, and able to realize their full potential. I thank you.
Let us give them a round of applause again. Our guest of honor coming up next is the youth voice testimony and call to action for adolescent representatives. Zipho Zenkosi Ndlovu and Chantel Mapamba.
Pamusoro ivanoremekedzwa vese vari pano nevatungamiriri vese vari pano nemi mose makateerera. Ndasumukira kuti nditaurawo testimony yangu. Zita ndinonzi Chantel Mapamba, musikana ane makore 19. Pandakadiscover kuti ndane nhumbu, zvinhu zvakandibata, ndakafunga kuda kutozviuraya nokuda kutobvisa nhumbu. Ndakabata nhumbu nekuda kwepeer pressure kuzvikoro kwatinenge tiri. Tinongochiona vamwe vane maIphones, vachipfeka hembe dzinodhura, then wobva wazviti neniwo ndiri kuzvidawo asi kumba kwedu tisinga afford zvinhu zvakadaro. Then mukuda kuzama kuti ndiwanewo zvinhu izvozvo, then ndopandakapedzisira ndabata pamuviri. Chandinongoda kuti kutaura kune vana vechikoro, ngatigutsikane nezvatinopiwa, siyanai nenyaya yepeer pressure, because gutsikana kana wapiwa maputi nemazepi nedrink kana kuti nemvura, gutsikana neizvozvo. Kana kumba kwenyu musinga afford kuti uende nemalazy, siyana nazvo, nokuti mukuda kutraya kuti ndiwane zvinhu izvozvo, ndopakupedzisira wasangana nedambudziko. Unenge une madreams yokutoti da kuitawo doctor, da kuitawo lawyer, asi zvinobva zvavharwa nokuda nedambudziko raunenge wasangana naro renhumbu. Nesuwo vabereki ngatiwane nguva yekutaura nevana vedu. nokuti ukawana nguva yekutaura naye achikuudzawo zvinomunetsa haangambosvike pakuita nhumbu achiri mwana mudiki, because anosiya chikoro, madreams ese hausisina, zvese zvapinda musango. Saka ndongoti kuzvikoro futi muzvipatara musati judge, don't judge us. Tipewo rudo, tipewo rudo, nokuti mukatijaja mumacommunities ndopatinopedzisira tazviuraya kana kubvisa nhumbu. Mukubvisa futi unogonopedzisira wafa futi. Saka ndinongoti naye waenda 10.
Ngatimuroverei maoko. Azvimeke sense kana zvisati zvaitika kwauri. Zvikaitika kwauri, you understand the other side. Zipo zengosi. Vana vechikoro ngatinyararei.
Program Director, allow me to write on already established protocol. Thank you. So today we stand together at a defining moment for Zimbabwe's adolescents and young people. So the launch of this framework is more than just unveiling a document. It is a national commitment to protect, support, and empower every adolescent in Zimbabwe. So as young people, we refuse to accept a future where young girls are forced to leave school because of pregnancy, where child marriage rob young people of their dreams, and where poverty, harmful social norms, and lack of information continue to limit opportunities for adolescents. So today, we call upon all stakeholders to play their part. So to the government ministers present here, we urge you all to fully implement this framework, strengthen the coordination, and ensure that young people, particularly those in rural and hard-to-reach areas, are not left behind. To the traditional leaders, we thank you for your leadership and encourage you to continue championing initiatives that have been mentioned here, for example, the Not in My Village campaign, and protect children from harmful practices. To the parents and the guardians, we encourage you to have open conversations with your children. Please provide guidance to them and create safe spaces where they can seek support. To the schools and the educational institutions, we call upon you to ensure that every learner has access to accurate information, support, and opportunities to remain in school and fulfill their potential, even after pregnancy. So to the development partners in civil society, we thank you for the support. Please continue to invest in programs that improves the lives and adolescence of young people. To the boys and young men, please let us make informed decisions. Let's support one another and let us be champions of respect. And to my fellow young people, in as much as we are calling government, we are calling civil society, we have a responsibility. Let's be responsible. Our rights go with our responsibilities. Let's make informed decisions. Let's support one another. And let's reject all harmful peer pressure and become ambassadors for positive peer change in the communities. Ladies and gentlemen, preventing adolescent pregnancies is not only a health issue, it is a development issue. Every girl should stay in school. Every child marriage should be prevented, and every young person should be empowered to make informed choices. No child marriages, no preventable adolescent pregnancy, and no girl left behind. Together, let's build a Zimbabwe where every young person has got an opportunity to thrive. Let's build a Zimbabwe where every young person is healthy, educated, empowered, and able to realize their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Zipho Zengosi. Our guest of honor, coming up next, the National AIDS Council Not in My Village campaign.
Thank you very much. Our guest of honor, thank you. Let me write on the already existing protocol or protocol observed. Ndasumukira pano kuti nditaure maringe nezve Not in My Village campaign yanga ichiitwa coordinate neNational AIDS Council nemadzimambo edu. SeGoromonzi district in particular, ndinoda kutenda zvikuru vanga vachikweshera chirongwa ichi cheNot in My Village kuno kuMash East tinao pano Chief Nechombo, Chief Chinamhora, Chief Chikwaka nemamwe madzishe ese emuno muMash East Province. So ndinoda kutenda zvakanyanya ndibatsireiwo vanhu vari pano kutenda madzimambo ari pano tise maoko nekuita spearhead this program Not in My Village. Right. Not in My Village model yakalonjwa na president muna 2024 kuMash Central. Vayaitwa cascade down kuma province nekuma district. So district rega rega rakanga rine high teenage pregnancy, rakanga rine high people living with HIV are ma-teenage and also ma-adolescents akanga ane ma-high STIs between the age group of 10 to 24 years. Ndo kwakasarudzwa kuti kuende chirongwa ichi Not in My Village. Zvinangwa Not in My Village was to increase knowledge to gatekeepers about child marriages and teenage pregnancies, to change attitudes and behaviors, and also for the gatekeepers and communities to take action to prevent and to respond to child marriages and teenage pregnancies. So, patiriko zvinozvi ndinoda kutenda mama stakeholders. This is now more of a multi-sectorial approach where everyone is involved in the fight against early marriages and teenage pregnancies. So my achievements ataita so far, tichishanda nemadzimambo edu, takwanisa kuita community engagement, takatungamirirwa nama DGC edu kuma provinces nekuma districts. Takada kudzoka kumusha patiri pano nhasi kuGoromonzi. So far taricha masabhuku anokwana kuita 412 vaakuziwa Not in My Village and ndiwo vaapamberi kufambisa chirongwa ichi Not in My Village. Kuno for example kuGoromonzi tina Chief Chinamhora vari pamberi zvakanyanya, vari kutoshanda nema-MP nepolice na Chief Chikwaka vari pamberi zvakanyanya, vari kushanda nema-MP nepolice vachiita chirongwa ichi Not in My Village. Takakwanisa zvekare kuita road show now pamwe chete, takaita community dialogues pamwe chete. As we speak, village heads nema-chief nema-headmen, they are in the process of crafting bylaws panyaya dzema-teenage pregnancies nema-early marriages. So hatisikuita tega chirongwa Not in My Village, tiri kuita collaboration nevanhu vakawanda zvakanyanya. MuGoromonzi for example tine rombo rakanaka, tine chirongwa chinonzi Offland, Organization of African First Ladies for Development. Chiriko zvekare chiri kuita zvekare nyaya yekuita mitigate against nyaya teenage pregnancies and also early marriages. Tine Ministry of Women Affairs tiri kushanda futi nayo zvakanaka. I think ndinodaira kuti mazuva apera the Not in My Village campaign haichazi kuvillage chete. It has also been cascaded down at school level. where Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education has managed to launch the Not in My School campaign. We also have my honorable members who are now also cascading down this model, You're Not in My Village, in their constituents, where they are now launching the Not in My Constituents campaign. So we also have other partners like Mawambo Orphan Care. Instead of naming it Not in My Village, they are naming it No Means No. So they've already done it, particularly in Goromonzi district, where they are doing the No Means No campaign in the respective wards. So, ndinoda kuti chita chiri pano chizive kuti nyaya Not in My Village yatekeshera Honorable Minister Ndutu, yatekeshera Honorable our guest of honor. Chisi chekutamba nacho tiri kutoenda ende mama results ndo amaona evana vanga vachiuya vachipa testimony. This week chirongwa cheNot My Village kuGweru kune chiefs indaba vachiita review nekucheka progress kuti taapa maringe nenyaya dzemateenage pregnancies ne-early marriages. Saka vari kuenda kuGweru machief ese emuno muZimbabwe vachinokurukura nyaya iyoyi yeNot in My Village. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Give them a round of applause one more time. Our guest of honor, allow us to move on as we invite to take this time, allow us to take this time to invite the traditional leadership, Council of Chiefs, Mashonaland East Provincial Chiefs Council Chairperson.
Mofu Maoko.
Totenda skuru. Regai nditange nekucherechedza zvakazara our guest of honor, Honorable Minister Moyo, tokucherechedzai zvakazara kuprovince kwedu, Honorable Minister. Ndoda kucherechedza zvakare zvakazara Honorable Minister Ndudzo vakatimirira kuno kuprovince vanogara vane hochekoche nemadzimambo nehurumende yedu yeZimbabwe kuti maprograms edu ave anoenderera mberi. Ndoda kucherechedza zvakare zvakazara madzimambo ari pakati pedu auya neuwandu hwawo kuwa vachiuya kunotsigira chirongwa chakakosha zuva ranhasi. Ndoda zvakare kuti ndive ndinocherechedza ma-development partners edu ari pakati pedu. We acknowledge, we appreciate your presence to our development partners. Ndoda zvakare kucherechedza vose vari kutungamirira chirongwa pazuva ranhasi. Your guest of honor, ndisati ndaenda mberi, ndoda kutora mukana uno kuti ndive ndinosvitsa shoko kune vana vedu. Shoko iri randiri kuda kusvitsa ishoko sekuziva kwenyu semadzimambo tinenge takamiririra mhuri dzedu. Mutemo vedu vemuno muZimbabwe wobva wati tine basa rekumiririra zvishuwiro nezvinodikana nevabereki. Saka meseji yatinayo kune vana vedu vari pano, ndoziva zvakanyanya kuti munonzwa mutauro handitika vedu kana vechingerengere, zvese tinotaura on behalf yevabereki venyu vane chishuwiro, their dreams, their aspirations. Vabereki venyu, meseji yavandituma nayo ndevekuti vari kutarisirawo kuti, ndobva ndatongotangira pano paGoromonzi, manzwa kuti pana Dr. Chiwarira, old student yepano, handiti mazvinzwa izvozvo? Old student who was a student here, and the dreams and aspiration of your parents is also to look forward to you one day you would be a doctor like Dr. Chiwara. Anditika, vane dream and aspiration. Minister of State Vedu is an advocate, is a lawyer. Your parents have sent me on their behalf to say they also look forward to you to become an advocate. They also look forward. We have got my permanent secretaries who are here. The parents look forward that one day you would be a permanent secretary. One day you will be our guest of honor as our minister. One day you will be one of our permanent secretaries, you would be our directors. These are dreams and aspirations of your family, dreams and aspirations of the community, dreams and aspirations ndozvinotarisirwa nenyika yedu yeZimbabwe. This is the message to you, our children. And your parents and our parents, on behalf of the parents, and as a community, we are also saying the other message yatiri kutaura, which we want to communicate to you, is that no teenage pregnancies, not in the family, not in the village, not in the community, not in our nation. So these messages must be born in our minds if in the future we also would want to achieve the dreams and aspirations of our parents. This is what our parents look up to us to become. And as an individual, Sevana, we want also to continue and to encourage you that as a child, the responsibility also lies on you to be responsible. Yes, our government has enacted mitemo to protect you, that mwana vose ari pasi pemakore 18. Mitemo iripo. My development partners, our government, amai venyika, vari kuramba vachitaura nyaya dzenhanga gota. All development partners, we are saying with our government, not in my village, not in my ward, not in my community. Tichenda mberi, we want to encourage you, our children, to embrace our ways of not embracing our culture, our parents. If there is one person who will never and will never let you down, is your mother, is your father, is your family. They will never, never let you down. And I encourage you, even the Bible says, Kudza baba na amai vako. I leave you with this message. And I want you to live this message so that it is a lived reality. When you achieve that, you would be a success in life. No one will ever let you down. Your parents will always advise you in the right way. Your parents will always advise you kuti musaite zvemutoriro, musanwe zvinodhaka. Your parents would always advise you on humility. Your parents will always advise you on gratitude. Your parents would always advise you kusaita zvakashata. Atidi kuti vana vaite misikanzwa vazoite pamiri vachiri vadiki. From the onset, I think tataura tichiti imimi mukaita izvozvo zvakashata, early teenage pregnancies, you would have let down, number one, your parents, your family. Number two, your community. Number three, the nation. You would have let everyone down. Now, in conclusion, atichaenda mberi, regai tipedzese tichiti to our development partners as traditional leaders in our communities, as the primary safeguards of our culture and heritage. We would want to commit ourselves that all the efforts, all the initiatives of our government, we are together, we embrace, and we will tirelessly work and ensure that we will achieve, not in our family, not in our community, not in our ward, not in our great nation. We thank you.
Mashoko makukutu kubva kune madzimambo yedu ari kuti tsika dziya dzainzi dzokuzvarira nekudii vazvitaurira vega pachena kuti no, hakusisina zvakadaro. Hanzi regai dzive shiri, mazai haana muto. Maita zvakanaka panguva ino. Our guest of honor, nditenderei zvishoma. Ndiri kuona zviso zvevamwe vari mukati mematende umu vari kutaura ivo kuti vari kuda kumbonzwa ka-entertainment. Naizvozvo Runyararo Primary School, simudza. Mwanatsika. Hanzi noroi noroi pamuromo peshumba nditange ndabaya. Vanogona vanawa.
icho baba ndopa unoona rimwe rume risingasvoni ipapa richitoona mukadzi ipapa vana vane fyucha kudai svonai mhani mapurisa mukangovona unonero batai hande mwanasikana uyo Runyararo Primary School.
Runyararo pachinenge chatsvuka chakwata kudai nguva dzedu machisamba vanoti zvinhaturwa zvedu ndo pazvinenge zvomhanyidzana ipapo vanhu vanenge vonakidzwa naizvo baya Thank you, Runyararo, thank you. Vatai makadaro. Just a pause. Thank you. Thank you. Our guest of honor say, chititenderaiwo panguva ino, with your permission, ndidaidze Permanent Secretary vauye vatipe mashoko avanawo. Permanent Secretary, Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, say.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony. And up front, I want to applaud you for a good mimic of our President, His Excellency the President. The test will come when we ask you to dance. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to recognize the guest of honor, the Honorable Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, Honorable Edgar Moyo. I also want to recognize the Provincial Minister of Devolution and Provincial Affairs, Honorable Advocate Itai Ndudzo. I go on to recognize other representatives of ministries who are gathered here. I know we have several of them. The other ministers could not make it, but they made it a point that they are represented with very senior officials. And in that representation, I want to recognize the director who is representing the Chief Secretary to the President and Cabinet, Dr. Martin Ruchwaya, who is here with us. I move on to also recognize other senior officials from Mashonaland East, from the various MDAs whom are supposed to work on this very important project and program. I also want to recognize the United Nations resident representatives who are here, and I know that they are full of energy, and across the clock, they do work with the Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare. The guest of honor, ladies and gentlemen, has a very huge portfolio, and we'll talk about that later. But I'm mentioning it because we are partners with a lot of people, both locally and international, and they are represented here. I also want to join everyone here in saluting the Honorable Minister of Provincial Affairs, because from the ministry's perspective, we see a very decent crowd which is here, and we want to thank you. Several chiefs are here, the schools are here, the headmasters are also here, and quite a number of our traditional leaders, and even media. Thank you very much for that. I move on, ladies and gentlemen. The responsibility I've been given is to kind of give you the background to this program we are here for. So allow me to provide a background on the multi-sectoral framework on the prevention and response to adolescent pregnancies in Zimbabwe, which is what has brought us here. My presentation, ladies and gentlemen, is going to provide a summary of the National Assessment on Adolescent Pregnancy in Zimbabwe, citing obviously the key findings that gave rise to the need to act on curtailing the scourge of adolescent pregnancy. We are also going to listen from me the framework that we have here, and I'll try to summarize. So those are the two issues that I'm here to look at. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the issue of the assessment, this was undertaken in 2023, led and coordinated by the Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare. But like I'm saying, we're only coordinating. We're working with others, various ministries, in particular health and childcare, Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, and therefore we led ourselves to commission a national assessment adolescent pregnancies study. And this assessment was carried out by an institution called the Center for Sexual Health and HIV/AIDS Research. This was immensely supported by UNESCO, UNICEF, UNFPA, and of course, we're trying to look at this scourge. And the main issues that were included when we were carrying out this assessment were firstly, to determine the magnitude and trends of adolescent pregnancies. Secondly, to identify the major drivers and risk factors. Thirdly, to assess the consequences of adolescent pregnancies. Fourthly, to examine gaps in existing systems and services. We also looked at the need for us to generate evidence to inform a coordinated national response. So this was quite a scientific approach that we undertook. The findings, ladies and gentlemen, are there for us to see. And we are going to distribute a document which is going to share some of the findings in terms of statistics. It made it very clear that as a country we are facing a serious problem of adolescent pregnancies. And it's really a pressing public health and developmental challenge for the country. I will try to be slow so that we take good note of the statistics. Between 2019 and 2023, over 358,000 pregnancies were recorded among adolescents aged between 10 and 19 years. 358,000 is a worrying figure. The country has a high adolescent birth rate of 111 births per 1,000 girls. This obviously is of major concern, and it is really above the sub-Saharan African average of only 93 births per 1,000. Our figure of 111 is cause for worry. When we look at antenatal bookings in public health facilities, we find that 21% are taken by adolescents, which again is a very high figure. The prevalence of adolescent pregnancy, it increased from 9% in 2016, rising to 22% in 2023. This is representing 144% increase. Among the girls aged between 10 and 14 years, which is really a young age, the prevalence increased from 2.6% to 6.2%. Again, we are worried about this, and indeed the whole of government is worried. Among the girls aged between 15 and 19 years, the prevalence increased from 21.6% to 25.2%. The challenge, particularly pronounced in rural areas, and this is cause for worry, although even in urban areas, we are also experiencing a worrying increase. Adolescent fertility rates are considerably higher in rural areas. Rural areas recorded fertility rates of up to 144 births per 1,000 girls, compared to 70 births per 1,000 girls in urban areas. Poverty, limited access to services, and entrenched cultural practices, they increase that vulnerability among our rural folk. So this is an issue for attention. The statistics we are sharing, ladies and gentlemen, highlight the need and the need for coordinated action to protect adolescents and secure their futures. And I think I want to underscore the issue of securing their futures. Several intermediate and immediate structural drivers of adolescent pregnancy were identified during this national assessment. Number one of those drivers is limited access to sexual and reproductive health services. Number two driver is sexual violence and exploitation. The third one is child marriages. The fourth is inadequate sexual and reproductive health information. So these were what were identified as drivers for this problem that we are facing. As highlighted by the National Assessment, adolescent pregnancies have profound health, education, and socio-economic effects. That's why we are gathered here. We have to fight the monster. Some of these effects are adolescents and young women under 24 years. They did account for 25% of maternal deaths. We also see an increased risk of maternal complications and poor newborn outcomes. There is also increased school dropout and reduced education attainment. You heard the girl who was here before us talking about the dreams which have been shattered. So this is the effect of the challenge that we are talking about here. We also have those girls who have gone through this challenge facing an incidence of poverty and high dependence rate. We also have reduced the employment opportunities, and those affected, they suffer from social stigma and at times exclusion, which is something which is very bad an experience for an individual. We therefore conclude that when we look at the impact, it brings increased vulnerability and even creates an opportunity for gender-based violence. So ladies and gentlemen, in terms of the background, that's what I wanted to say. I now move on to unpack what the framework we are looking at is talking about. The framework that we are launching today represents a direct response to the findings that I have just summarized, and this emerged from the national assessment that I have talked about. In developing the framework we are launching, government adopted an inclusive and consultative process involving various ministries, departments, agencies, and indeed the United Nations organizations, most of whom are represented here. We also included civil society, guests of honor. We also had to include the traditional leaders in consulting for the framework that we have come up with. We also even included the faith-based organizations and indeed the adolescent and parts of the communities. So this broad participation, it reflects our conviction that addressing adolescent pregnancies requires a multi-sectoral approach. At the heart of the framework, ladies and gentlemen, lies a robust theory of change, and I underscore, we are coming up with a theory of change, which is at the heart of the framework. The theory of change recognizes that adolescent pregnancy is a symptom of failures across multiple systems. It also acknowledges that no single institution or sector can solve the challenge in isolation. Therefore, sustainable change requires interventions at the individual, the community, the household, the institutional, and even at policy levels. I think Mambo Ataura Babatanya Zakada idzodzi. The theory of change is built on the assumption that if we empower adolescents, improve access to quality and integrated services. We can also reinforce family and community support systems and therefore create an enabling policy framework for interventions that we all expect to take place. So Zimbabwe would need to achieve a reduction in adolescent pregnancies and improve health, educational, socio-economic outcomes of our adolescents. That is why we are happy to be talking to students and learners who are here. The framework, ladies and gentlemen, it adopts a whole of government and whole of society approach. It brings together prevention, mitigation, support, and accountability mechanisms under one unified system. The framework is encapsulated in 10 integrated pillars. And these pillars, I'll just rush over them. The first one is of child protection and case management. The second one is that of economic empowerment. We also have the third pillar, which focuses on adolescent response, sexual and reproductive health services. The fourth pillar is a comprehensive life skills, education, and self-learning environments. The fifth pillar addresses positive social gender norms, and yet the sixth pillar goes on to look at social protection and humanitarian response. The seventh pillar, ladies and gentlemen, focuses on parenting and family engagement. The eighth pillar is systems strengthening. The ninth is monitoring and evaluation, which is very important because we want to see the impact of our interventions across the globe. The 10th and final pillar is that of coordination and governance. So ladies and gentlemen, when the framework is going to be distributed, you'll be able to go through the pillars that are encapsulated in that framework. And I think in every pillar, you and me will find our place and our role. And that is what is very critical. So guests of honor, when we look at this framework, at the highest strategic oversight is provided through the Office of the President and Cabinet, which is reflecting the national importance attached to addressing adolescent pregnancies. The Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, headed by our guest of honor, is responsible for coordination, while the Ministry of Health and Child Care is the co-chair in coordinating technical aspects of implementing and supporting this arrangement. We equally have a National Steering Committee, which brings everything together and ensures that we are going to drive the program. We have all line ministries and government departments with their various mandates who are playing a role, and I single out health, education, youth empowerment, women affairs, local government, and all of them. So this framework, ladies and gentlemen, is a government program. The framework further recognizes that it is indispensable that we work with development partners. That's why we are proud to be with United Nations agencies here. We also have local NGOs and civil society who are going to be playing a critical role. Even the faith-based organizations also play a role. The traditional leaders have already indicated where their place is in the implementation of the framework. So the implementation at the sub-national level, guests of honor, will be anchored through the district child protection committees and existing community structures to ensure that interventions reach adolescents where they live. The coordination architecture therefore embodies the principle of collective action in preventing and managing adolescent pregnancy. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, and as we move towards Vision 2030, we need to affirm our shared commitment to ensuring that every adolescent girl in Zimbabwe has the opportunity to remain in school. They also have to access quality health services. They also have to live free lives from violence and exploitation. And obviously, we want them to naturally realize their full potential. Together, through this framework, we have an opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to ensure that the lives of adolescents have a brighter future. So on behalf of the Minister of Mines and on behalf of the Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, I would want to commend and present this outline of where we came from and also the pillars of the framework that we have. I so submit. Thank you very much.
A round of applause for the PEMSEC. Without wasting much of our time, our guest of honor, allow me to invite a solidarity statement from the Minister of Health and Child Care, a representative representing Dr. Mombeshora, DMO Goromonzi. Ngatiroverei DMO maoko.
Our guest of honor, Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, Honorable Moyo, Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Mashonaland East Province, Honorable Advocate Ainduzo, all protocols observed. Allow me to stand before you on behalf of Honorable Minister for Health and Child Care, Dr. D. Mombeshora. A good morning to you all. It is a profound honor to stand before you today on this important occasion where we highlight an important plight not only for the Ministry of Health, but for the country at large. Allow me to start by acknowledging that we are not launching a document, but that we are making a solemn pledge towards our children, in particular adolescents and youth, that their health, dignity, and their future matters. We are saying to the adolescent girls of this nation that we see them, we hear them, and we are committing our resources and our resolve to ensuring that they can live productive and fulfilling lives free from the burden of early and unintended pregnancies. As highlighted earlier, this framework is the culmination of years of evidence gathering, stakeholder consultation, and national reflection, and indeed, my ministry, through the Youth Desk, is delighted to have been part of all the processes. It therefore represents Zimbabwe's first fully integrated, evidence-based, and systems-oriented response to adolescent pregnancy prevention. It is a response to a crisis that is not only a public health emergency, but a fundamental threat to our national development. These statistics presented earlier show that we have a crisis we cannot ignore that demands urgent action. While rural fertility rates remain disproportionately high, urban provinces, including Harare, have seen some of the most dramatic increases over the past 7 years. What is of concern to the Ministry of Health regarding adolescents who fall pregnant is that they contribute up to 25% of maternal deaths, with a similar proportion of their newborn babies dying. These are not just statistics, but rather shattered dreams of our daughters, sisters, loved ones, and society. In its efforts to reduce maternal deaths and to ensure that health facilities provide adolescent-friendly services, the Ministry of Health and Child Care developed a training package for healthcare workers in public health facilities to deliver quality and respectful maternity care. As such, since last year, my ministry has directly trained over 4,000 health workers through cluster trainings from all public health facilities in Zimbabwe. These trainings have since been cascaded to other PA workers on site in the context of the WHO Global Standards on provision of quality and differentiated adolescent health services. Today, we build on that momentum with this framework, which is vital to the Ministry of Health and Child Care, precisely because we recognize that we cannot solve this problem alone. A multi-sectoral approach that recognizes both prevention and management of adolescent pregnancies, an approach that brings line ministries, parastatals, civil society organizations, traditional and religious leaders, policymakers, caregivers, and parents, as well as adolescents themselves, to meaningfully engage, stand up, and work together for a common purpose will assist in realizing our Vision 2030 targets. For too long, adolescent pregnancy has been treated as a health issue only. Evidence that informed the framework development clearly articulates adolescent pregnancies being driven by poverty, by gender inequality, by weak social protection, by limited access to comprehensive life skills education, and by harmful social and gender norms. A framework built on interconnected strategic pillars, a whole of government and whole of society approaches is therefore a huge achievement for us as it brings together health, education, youth, gender, social welfare, justice, and the private sector, among others. The framework aligns with the National Health Strategy to the 2021 Interministerial Committee on Education, Health, and National Well-being, the National Youth Policy, and indeed the 2018 School Health Policy and Zimbabwe Multi-Sectoral Drug and Substance Abuse Plan 2024 to 2030, among others, to address the key drivers of unwanted pregnancies. It means we move beyond vertical programming to integrated, comprehensive care, thorough strengthened partnerships with key ministries, including the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, to strengthen child protection and social protection systems, and Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Development, and Vocational Training on economic empowerment and livelihoods for vulnerable adolescents. Through the National Adolescent and Youth Health and Wellbeing Steering Committee and Coordination Forum, co-chaired with Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, our agenda is very clear that adolescent pregnancy prevention and management will remain at the top. My ministry is therefore embracing this framework and more than ready to operationalize it within my respective mandates. To our development partners, I thank you for your continued support and call upon you to align your investments with this framework. We need predictable, sustainable, and harmonized financing. To civil society organizations, you are essential partners in reaching adolescents at the community level. Your peer education, support programs, advocacy, community mobilization efforts, and advocacy work are indispensable. To traditional and religious leaders, you are the gatekeepers of our communities. Your voice matters. Your endorsement of this framework sends a powerful message that adolescent health is a community priority. You have already demonstrated this through the Not in My Village campaign, which I launched in 2024 at Nzimbo Growth Point during the World Population Day commemoration on behalf of His Excellency Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa. To parents and caregivers, you are the first line of support for adolescents. Your love, guidance, and open communication are protective factors that can shield adolescents from early pregnancy. And to the adolescents themselves, you are the reason we are here today. Your voices, your experiences, and your aspirations must guide our efforts. This framework is for you, but more importantly, it is with you. Together, we can reduce the incidence of adolescent pregnancy whilst managing those already pregnant or have experienced a pregnancy more respectfully. Together, we can ensure that every adolescent girl lives a productive and fulfilling life, enabled to realize her full potential. Together, we can build a healthier, more equitable, and more prosperous Zimbabwe. I thank you.
Ngativaroverei maoko. Ini zvandahwa ndezvekuti pamadzimai 4 ega ega anoshaya kana kuti anoluza upenyu hwavo vachibatsirwa mwana kana kuti vachizvara mwana, pa4 vega vega madzimai pane 1 muadolescent. Saka kunemi vana vechikoro, iti ari pasaidi newe, don't be a statistic. Ndiri kungozama kureva kuti uri kumuudza kuti usazove umwe wevanoverengwa. Pa4 vega vega madzimai, 3 chete ndovechikuru, 1 ndewezera renyu vanasikana ari kushaya ari pakubatsirwa mwana, ari kuruza life. Andirika there are better things that you can do zvisiri kuzvara vana. Ngatiroverei maoko message yakakosha iyi. Our guest of honor, allow us please for just some few remarks, solidarity statement from the Minister of Primary and Secondary Education, Chief Director Education, Mrs. A. Ngube. Tivaroverei maoko vachizotipa mashoko mashoma esolidarity.
The Director of Ceremonies, allow me to ride on protocol already established. I am going to read the solidarity remarks by the Honorable Minister for Primary and Secondary Education presented at the National Launch for Adolescent Pregnancy Multi-Sectoral Response Framework here at Goromonzi High School. The Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education is fully aware that adolescent pregnancies continue to pose serious health, educational, and socio-economic consequences, threatening the future potential of young individuals, particularly adolescent girls. It is a profound honor to stand in solidarity with the Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare as we launch the multi-sectoral framework on the prevention and management of adolescent pregnancies. The initiative represents a critical turning point in our national commitment to safeguarding the future of our youth. The ministry is dedicated to providing an outcome-based curriculum that focuses on life skills and other essential empowerment skills for all learners. By addressing the triple threat of HIV, early and unintended pregnancy, and gender-based violence, we are taking decisive action to ensure that no child is left behind due to circumstances beyond their control. In response to the many needs and pressures faced by learners in our schools, the ministry has introduced several initiatives, mainly through the guidance and counseling program available at all levels of the education system. The program is based on core principles such as human rights and dignity, life skills, learner empowerment and sustainability, ubuntu, healthy living and lifestyles, human growth and development, and personal responsibilities. This approach has proven to be more effective in improving learners' knowledge and skills necessary to protect themselves from the risks of HIV, STIs, drug and substance abuse, misuse and abuse, unintended pregnancy, and early marriages. The ministry is currently reviewing the school-based life skills and empowerment support program strategic plan 2020 to 2025 as a clear demonstration of its commitment to a multi-sectoral approach to HIV and AIDS, drug and substance abuse, teenage pregnancies, and early marriages. Through the heritage-based curriculum, our learners are informed and equipped with knowledge, attitudes, and skills to make responsible choices regarding sexuality, relationships, HIV and AIDS, career options, and other life empowerment competencies. The ministry has also developed a learner workbook on Fit for Life and Work Learners 21st Century Survival Kit. The activities outlined in the workbook serve as a benchmark for learner empowerment in acquiring essential life skills for personal and community benefit. It assists learners in researching, discovering, and applying new knowledge, insights, skills, and resources for their development. Peer-led sessions are organized to enhance problem-solving, decision-making, critical thinking, and assertiveness skills, among others. Furthermore, the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education undertakes part in the SADC care and support for teaching and learning CSTL program. This includes development of teaching and learning materials along with other requirements aimed at ensuring a quality learning environment. With adequate teaching and learning materials for guidance and counseling, learners can achieve their highest learning outcomes and become responsible citizens who will contribute to nation building. Our education system must fully promote a change of attitudes and behavior in matters of sexuality, which is crucial for the whole nation and its economic sustainability. School, family, and community support systems are essential for adolescent well-being. The ministry is launching the Not in My School campaign aimed at ending all forms of violence against children as well as issues of like early teenage pregnancies and school dropouts. These initiatives seek to create safe learning environments and communities free from violence across all sectors. Effective leadership and coordination are essential to overcoming implementation barriers, including gaps in policy, resource allocation, and logistical challenges in delivering services. The commitment to keeping girls in school by addressing barriers such as early pregnancy, child marriage, and stigma demonstrates the power of the 2020 Education Act Amendment, which rightly bans the expulsion of girls due to pregnancy. Our determination to create an environment where adolescent mothers can re-enter school is crucial for breaking the cycle of intergenerational poverty and ensuring every girl has the chance to finish her education without shame or punishment. The successful implementation of this framework will support the broader goals of gender equality, better health outcomes, and socio-economic development, ultimately reducing adolescent pregnancies and fostering a healthier future for Zimbabwe's youth. The Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education stands with you in the belief that education is a fundamental right, and this framework acts as a vital tool in realizing that right for the most vulnerable among us. We will continue collaborating closely with the Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare to ensure that learners are in safe environments that promote positive changes in attitudes and behaviors regarding sexuality, which are crucial for the nation and its economic stability. I therefore call for a coordinated, multi-sectoral approach to the successful rollout of the framework, ensuring that no child is left behind as we work towards achieving Vision 2030. I thank you.
Maoko. Ya, tanyanya kugarisa nai kumatende uko ngatimbosimukai DJ imbomurudza mbichana timbodzana. Tindimura DJ ndine ma-t-shirts maviri ari panapa. Watamba zvinofadza murume mutsvuku ndomupa. Kasirai kurumidzai ndiri pazuva ndokasira kushisha. Sumukai mani, hamuna wauti sumukai. Murukai uko. DJ hande zvako. Sumukai mudzane. Ngatisimukei timbodayo, timbostretcha so, timbosimudza. Before we have our keynote address from our guest of honor, DJ Hunt. Nguva inoi kana yozokera nawo yoenda nematisheti angu production.
Panonda dzinodhonza pamugwidza hati mwariwe pamugwidza panonda dzinodhonza pamugwidza hati mwariwe pamugwidza hadzinodhonza pamugwidza hati mwariwe pamugwidza hadzinodhonza pamugwidza hati mwariwe uyo akapfeka heti kumashure ari kunakirwawo yakatore t-shirt
iwe musikana iwewe iwe uri kuteuka iwewe uyatore ndozvatiri kuita vana ndiri kureva iwewe wakanditarisa iwewe wanga uchitamba iwewe manya mana uyai kuno mukoma uyai kuno
muri panorema wedenga vanoti vengawewo wawanda mwari wedenga vana vekwedu vari kuchema pamukwidza mwari wedenga una vari musango vari pamutsvaka mwari wedenga
vanotora ngoma inorira vogoda tambo inodhonza ngoma inorira yakinonorira manemamuri kana ngoma kana vamana isingariri zvakanaka who can prepare
rova dj kwai asati zvaringana
DJ.
Bombe ye umai, bombe ye umai, bombe ye umai, bombe ye umai. Mama yakajiwa na marigo, mama yakajiwa na marigo, yo yakajiwa na marigo, mama yakajiwa na
usiku urefu vanozotamba zvavo. With your permission, our guest of honor, Tenderei ndisimudze Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, that uye vatipe mashoko avo mashomanene vagotisimudzira mukokwa wedu mukuru vachasimudza mukokwa wedu mukuru. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony. Allow me to recognize the Honorable Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Honorable Advocate Nduzo. Also allow me to recognize, but in absent here, a lot of ministers. I said earlier that those are represented, and I think you have heard the solidarity messages which have come through. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to make any further remarks, but to introduce, as required, our guest of honor, who is none other than the Honorable Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, Honorable Edgar Moyo. You may want to know, ladies and gentlemen, that Honorable Moyo is a current elected member of Parliament for Matobo North constituency in Matabeleland South. Honorable Moyo, at some point, was Deputy Minister of Primary and Secondary Education. That was for years 2018 to year 2023. From there, His Excellency the President found him suitable and competent to head the Ministry of Energy and Power Development. This was for the period 2023 to 2024. You may want to know, ladies and gentlemen, that before that, Honorable Moyo had gone through ZIMSEC as a board member for some period. All of you know that ZIMSEC has to do with our examinations. He was also an active member of ZIMTA, which is an association for teachers nationally, and he was the treasurer there. He has also gone into other regional bodies, and you may want to know, ladies and gentlemen, he is an appropriate member to be in the public service because at some point he was a key player in the National Joint Negotiating Council and as a member there. I want to indicate to you that the minister is a compassionate person. He's also a renowned farmer where he comes from, and I think we work with him. He's a practical man and he has compassion, and because he has gone through the education system, the issues of adolescence, I think it adds well to the issues that he is now responsible, looking after issues of vulnerable people in the country. So I want, with your indulgence, ladies and gentlemen, to invite our guest of honor, Honorable Edgar Moyo, to address us. Honorable Minister. Maoko.
Thank you very much. Shall we be seated? The Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Marsh East, Honorable Advocate Itai Nduzo. All ministers here represented, Ministry of Health and Child Care represented here by the DMO, the Minister of Primary and Secondary Education represented here by Mrs. Nube, the Minister of Youth Empowerment. I was advised that he would be coming. I hope that he arrives before we finish. And all other ministers, maybe who have not sent in their representatives. I also want to recognize the child president who is sitting up here.
And I always emphasize that his presidency is characterized by a small p. Our permanent secretary for the Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, Mr. Unaga, and all other permanent secretaries here present or represented. Our ZANU-PF leadership here present, senior government officials, school heads, and community leaders. Our esteemed members of the Chiefs Council, our United Nations resident coordinator, represented here by UNFPA and all other United Nations agencies. Our civil society organizations and students from across the education spectrum. Members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I am deeply honored to stand before you as we officially launch the multi-sectoral framework on the prevention and management of adolescent pregnancies in Zimbabwe. This event signifies not merely the launch of a framework, but the beginning of a renewed national commitment to address one of the most pressing public health, social, and development challenges confronting our nation. Allow me to express my sincere appreciation to all ministries, departments, and agencies, the United Nations family, development partners, civil society organizations, traditional and religious leaders, communities, and above all, our adolescents, whose invaluable contributions have made this framework possible. I appreciate your technical and financial support and your inputs during the consultations, development, and validation of this framework. Over the years, the government of Zimbabwe has made significant progress in strengthening the protection of children through key legislative and policy reforms. Key among these has been the amendment of the Children's Act, Chapter 5.06, which broadened the definition of a child in need of care to include pregnant children. Complementary provisions in the Marriages Act, the Criminal Law Codification and Reform Act, and the Criminal Procedure and Evidence Act have further reinforced the National Child Protection Framework. Notwithstanding these achievements, cases of child sexual abuse and exploitation are unacceptably high, driven by multiple and complex factors. Addressing these challenges requires coordinated and sustained action by all stakeholders, guided by a whole of government and whole of society approach to ensure a comprehensive and effective response to protect every child. As guided by His Excellency, the President, Dr. E.T. Mnangagwa, we firmly believe that we are the masters of our own destinies, in line with the mantra, Nyika inovakwa nebene bayo, ilizwe lakhiwa ngabanikazi bayo. More importantly, it is built by young people. The young people of today are the citizens, innovators, leaders, entrepreneurs, and parents of tomorrow. Therefore, how we nurture and invest in our adolescents today will determine the kind of Zimbabwe we build for future generations. Ladies and gentlemen, adolescent pregnancy has emerged as a major challenge with far-reaching consequences for individuals, families, communities, and the nation as a whole. When adolescents are denied opportunities, when they leave school prematurely, when they become trapped in cycles of poverty and vulnerability, the consequences are felt far beyond individual households. Adolescent pregnancy, therefore, is not simply a challenge affecting individual girls. It is a challenge affecting our collective social and economic development. It has implications for educational attainment, labor productivity, health outcomes, social cohesion, and intergenerational poverty. It affects our ability to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, our efforts to realize Agenda 2063, and our aspirations under Vision 2030. For these reasons, the well-being of adolescents is not a peripheral issue. It is a national development imperative. When adolescents thrive, families thrive. When families thrive, communities prosper. When communities prosper, nations develop. The government of Zimbabwe recognizes that adolescent pregnancy is not merely a health issue. It is a complex developmental issue driven by multiple and interrelated factors, including poverty, child marriage, gender inequality, limited access to sexual and reproductive health services, harmful social norms, violence, weak protection systems, and disruptions in education. Evidence generated over the years has shown that adolescent pregnancies are increasing, particularly among vulnerable and marginalized groups. As presented by findings from the 2023 National Assessment on Adolescent Pregnancies in Zimbabwe, there is an urgent need for a comprehensive and coordinated response across sectors and disciplines. Ladies and gentlemen, behind every statistic lies a human story. Behind every number is a young girl whose dreams have been interrupted. Behind every case is a family grappling with difficult circumstances. Behind every adolescent pregnancy is a reminder that we must continue to strengthen the systems that protect, support, and empower our adolescents. As leaders, policymakers, and stakeholders, we must never lose sight of the human faces behind the data, but we should recognize that adolescent pregnancy is often both a symptom and a consequence of broader inequalities. It reflects poverty, gender inequality, violence and abuse, harmful social norms, educational disadvantages, and inadequate access to opportunities. Since these challenges are interconnected, our responses must be equally integrated. It is therefore against this background that government, working closely with development partners and other stakeholders, initiated the development of this multi-sectoral framework as a direct response to the recommendations and findings of the National Assessment on Adolescent Pregnancies. Distinguished guests, the framework is the first national instrument in Zimbabwe to provide a comprehensive, systems-based and multi-sectoral approach to preventing and managing adolescent pregnancies. It recognizes that no single ministry, department, agency, organization, community, or individual can address this challenge alone, but it is a shared responsibility that requires whole of government and whole of society approach. Government, parents, teachers, traditional leaders, religious leaders, health workers, development partners, civil society organizations, private sector, and adolescents themselves have roles to play. In other words, protecting adolescents is everyone's responsibility. The 10 pillars of the framework offer a multi-sectoral approach and provide us with a clear roadmap and demonstrate that everyone has a role to play. The multi-sectoral framework to prevent and manage adolescent pregnancies in Zimbabwe places shared responsibility at the center of action and calls all sectors of society to contribute to protecting and empowering adolescents. Under Child Protection and Case Management pillar, government, communities, schools, law enforcement agencies, traditional and religious leaders, parents and caregivers are urged to strengthen protective environments, ensure early identification of vulnerable children, and provide timely support, recognizing that families remain the first line of protection. Through economic empowerment, stakeholders are encouraged to expand opportunities for skills development, entrepreneurship, and livelihoods for adolescents and young mothers, ensuring that poverty does not determine their future. Under adolescent responsive sexual and reproductive health services, health workers, parents, communities, and young people must work together to guarantee access to quality, confidential, and youth-friendly services, free from stigma and discrimination. The pillar on comprehensive life skills education and safe learning environments underscores the need for teachers, schools, parents, and communities to provide supporting learning spaces and ensure that every child remains in school, recognizing education as a key protective factor against adolescent pregnancy. Equally important is the transformation of social and gender norms, which requires traditional and religious leaders, parents, men and boys, the media and civil society to challenge harmful practices and promote positive values that safeguard adolescents. Under social protection and humanitarian response, government and partners are called upon to protect vulnerable adolescents during emergencies and periods of crisis so that no child is left behind. Parenting and family engagement highlights the indispensable role of parents, guardians, communities, and faith-based institutions in nurturing positive values, providing guidance, and strengthening family support systems. The framework further emphasizes systems strengthening, requiring ministries, departments, agencies, and partners to enhance institutional capacity, improve service delivery, and generate evidence to inform programming. Through monitoring, evaluation, and financing, government, treasury, and development partners are called upon to invest sustainably in adolescent well-being and ensure accountability for results. Finally, coordination and governance under the oversight of the Office of the President and Cabinet reinforces the importance of effective leadership, partnerships, and collective action among government, development partners, civil society, traditional and religious leaders, communities, and young people themselves. Together, these 10 pillars provide a comprehensive roadmap to prevent adolescent pregnancies and secure a future in which every adolescent is protected, empowered, and able to realize their full potential. Ladies and gentlemen, as government, we are also encouraged by the progress Zimbabwe has made over the years. We have strengthened our legislative and policy framework, expanded educational opportunities, promoted school re-entry for adolescent mothers, strengthened child protection systems, enhanced social protection programs, and invested in health services and community-based interventions. These achievements demonstrate government's unwavering commitment to protecting children and promoting adolescent well-being. However, we recognize that much more still needs to be done. The launch of this framework is therefore not the end of a process. It is the beginning of a renewed journey, a journey that requires commitment, partnerships, resources, accountability, and hope. As the Ministry of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, we remain fully committed to providing leadership and coordination for this important national agenda. However, successful implementation will require adequate and sustainable investment. Investments in adolescents should not be viewed as expenditure. They should be viewed as investments in human capital. The returns are enormous and include healthier populations, better educational outcomes, reduced poverty, greater productivity, resilient communities, and stronger economies. When girls stay in school, societies benefit. When girls are healthy, nations become stronger. When girls are economically empowered, poverty declines. When girls realize their full potential, communities become more resilient. Protecting adolescents is not merely a social obligation. It is a strategic investment in human capital and sustainable development. Therefore, investing in girls is among the smartest investments in Zimbabwe's future prosperity. Distinguished guests, allow me to speak directly to the adolescents who are present here today. You are not merely beneficiaries of programs, but you are partners in development. You are innovators, leaders, and agents of change. Our country believes in you. It is investing in you and counting on you. Remain focused on your dreams, committed to your education. Make responsible decisions. Believe in yourselves and never allow your circumstances to define your future. Your potential is greater than your challenges. Your dreams are valid, and your country will always stand with you. Ladies and gentlemen, as we launch this framework today, let us remember that history will judge us not by the speeches we make, but by the adolescents' lives we transform. It will judge us by whether more girls remain in school. It will judge us by whether families become stronger. It will judge us by whether communities become safer. It will judge us by whether young people are given hope and opportunities. Ultimately, it will judge us by whether we leave behind a better Zimbabwe for future generations. Let this launch, therefore, serve as a call to action, a call for stronger partnerships, a call for greater accountability, a call for sustained investment, a call for collective responsibility. Together we can build a Zimbabwe where every adolescent is protected, a Zimbabwe where every adolescent is healthy, has the opportunity to dream, to learn, and to succeed, a Zimbabwe where no adolescent is left behind. With these remarks, and on behalf of the government of the Republic of Zimbabwe, I have the singular honor and privilege to officially launch the multi-sectoral framework on the prevention and management of adolescent pregnancies in Zimbabwe. May this framework serve as a catalyst for transformative action and renewed commitment in safeguarding the rights, dignity, and well-being of all adolescents in Zimbabwe. I thank you.
Ngatisimukei tese, our guest of honor. Ngatisimukei tese in honoring our guest of honor.
Right, thank you very much. I did indicate at the beginning of my speech that I was expecting Honorable Machakaire to arrive, and he has now arrived. May I, Honorable Minister, invite you to come and make a few remarks. Thank you.
Garedu basi.
Thank you very much, our guest of honor. Zvakanaka kuva pano. Wedzerei kana tingaita kunge vana vasiri mayouth. Zvakanaka kuva pano. Once more time. Zvakanaka kuva pano. It's nice to be here. Thank you. Allow me to stand on the existing protocols, but I want to acknowledge the Director of Ceremonies, Pakati Pedu, In a special way, allow me to acknowledge madzimambo edu. Ndaona tina baba nechombo, tina baba china mhora, ndo madzimambo edu vari dzivevhu ratakatsika. Our Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Honorable Advocate Itai Ndudzo. Our guest of honor, who is the Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, Honorable E. Moyo. Senior government officials here present. Our junior president, representatives, I didn't see that we've got also a special guest here from the United Nations agents, and who is also the country representative. I want to acknowledge your presence, Madam Tabifo. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am deeply honored to join you today for the launch of the multi-sectoral framework on the prevention and management of adolescent pregnancies in Zimbabwe. Today is more than the launch of a framework. It is a national commitment to safeguard the future of our young people. It is a declaration that no child should have their dreams cut short by preventable circumstances. It is a reaffirmation of our collective responsibility to ensure that every young Zimbabwean has the opportunity to learn, grow, and realize their full potential. As we gather here today, let us remember this important truth, and I quote: if we want a prosperous nation tomorrow, we must invest in well-being of our children today, end of quote. Ladies and gentlemen, adolescent pregnancy is not merely a health concern. It is a social, economic, and developmental challenge that affects families, communities, and the nation. When a young girl becomes a mother before she is ready, her education is often interrupted. Her opportunities become limited, and her vulnerability increases. When a young boy becomes a father before he is prepared, his prospects are equally affected. The consequences are far-reaching and can perpetuate cycles of poverty, inequality, and exclusion. This challenge demands urgent action because the future of Zimbabwe is directly linked to the well-being, education, and empowerment of its young people. As a nation, we must send a clear message that every child deserves the opportunity to complete their education, pursue their ambitions, and contribute meaningfully to national development. Ladies and gentlemen, the challenges associated with adolescent pregnancies are complex and multi-dimensional. They are influenced by poverty, limited access to information and opportunities, child marriages, drugs and substance abuse, and other social vulnerabilities. For this reason, no single ministry, institution, organization, community, or family can address this challenge alone. It requires a coordinated and united response from all sectors of society. So this framework, therefore, represents more than a policy document. It is a call to action. It calls upon government ministries and agencies to strengthen prevention and response mechanisms. It calls upon development partners to continue investing in programs that empower and protect young people. It calls upon traditional leaders, parents, teachers, faith-based organizations, and communities to confront harmful practices and create environments where young people can thrive. Most importantly, it calls upon young people themselves to become active participants in shaping their futures and making informed decisions that protect their health, dignity, and aspirations. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Development and Vocational Training remains fully committed to addressing the underlying causes of adolescent pregnancies by implementing the National Youth Empowerment Strategy 2026 to 2030. Through vocational training, entrepreneurship, support, digital skills development, innovation, and youth empowerment initiatives, we are equipping young people with the skills, opportunities, and confidence they need to build productive and fulfilling lives. We recognize that economic empowerment is one of the most effective tools for reducing vulnerability among young people. And when young people have access to education, skills, employment opportunities, and sustainable livelihoods, they are better positioned to make positive life choices and contribute to national development. In addition, the ministry continues to work closely with the Ministry of Health and Child Care and other stakeholders to strengthen awareness programs on adolescent, sexual, and reproductive health. We are also intensifying campaigns against drug and empowering young people and ensuring that no one and no place is left behind as we advance towards Vision 2030. But frameworks alone do not change lives. Action does. The truth measure of our commitment will not be found in our documents, but in the tangible impact they create in the lives of our young people. Let us therefore ensure that our framework becomes a living instrument of transformation. Let it reach every school, every village, every ward, every community, and every young person across Zimbabwe. Let us work together to prevent adolescent pregnancies, protect vulnerable children, promote education, and create opportunities that enable our young people to flourish. Allow me to sincerely commend the Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare for taking the lead in the development of this important framework. I also applaud all government ministries, development partners, traditional leaders, civil society organizations, educators, parents here present, and communities whose dedication and collaboration have made this milestone possible. You can count on the unwavering support of the Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Development and Vocational Training as we work together to secure a brighter future of Zimbabwe's young people. In conclusion, let me leave you with this thought, and I quote, "Every adolescent pregnancy prevented is a dream preserved. Every young life empowered is an investment in Zimbabwe's future." End of quote. I know that we've got challenge of drugs and substance abuse amongst our young people, but I want to encourage you that these initiatives will bring a solution to the problem that we face as a nation. Honorable Guest of Honor. Together, Let us build a Zimbabwe where every young child is protected, every young person is empowered, and every dream can become reality. I thank you. Tatenda. Siabo.
Maoko, 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 maoko. Tifarire minister venyu, minister vedu, minister venyika, minister ve youth. Varipana patipa mashoko akanaka. Tikazvitarisisa maministry ese anga achibwereketa chinhu chimwe chete. Ministry of Youth, Minister of Education, Ministry of Health. Vese vari kubwereketa mashoko akanangana novunhu hwakashata, vunhu vunosvodesa, vunhu vunosvodogora, vunhu husina kunaka, vunhu hwekuti vatoko mburira dzakadai pwere idzi dziite nhumbu dzisati dzakura naika. Kureva kuti kwai amachakaire zvandabata venda hwachirungu apa kwai izvo adolescent nhumbu inomisa dream, idream ravhagwa naiveduwe. Saka mwanasikana haasi mudzimai, mwanasikana musikana ane future. Comrade.
Yeah, thank you very much, Regai. At this moment, our guest of honor say, Tikukumbirei with other fellow ministers, Vamunavo, Muye, Muchita, officially launch Chirongwa, Chataunganira pano nasi. Say. Panguva ino tirikuona our honorable minister, our guest of honor na minister wose vari pano vakatarisana neplaque iri pano kuti vaite officially launch. Now the Honorable Minister Moyo, ready to officially open an official launch. Muruna Muridzo. The Mount Sectoral Framework of the Prevention and Management of Adolescent Pregnancies in Zimbabwe. Valoncha. Sorry. Thank you, our guest of honor, sir. Our guest of honor, sir. Sorry. Thank you. Our guest of honor, say ministry yenyu nemhuri yemashonaland east vakatungamirirwa na honorable minister of state for provincial affairs and devolution neministry vari kuti vafara nelonji yamaita, the launch that you did here in Mashonaland East Province for the Mount Sectoral Framework on the Prevention and Management of Adolescent Pregnancies in Zimbabwe. So there is the gift. They are very happy for this launch. So Honorable Minister of State, here's the gift. Say. Thank you. Thank you very much. Tinotenda our guest of honor, mungatora yenyu, zvigaro zvenyu.
and gentlemen, our guests of honor, allow us to invite the president with a small p, the child president, to come and give us a vote of thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, Farirai President, when you child president. The president of podium Hansingai.
The Director of Ceremonies, Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution for Mashonaland East, Honorable Ainduzo, Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, Honorable Imoy, Minister of Youth Empowerment, Development and Vocational Training, Honorable Tima Chekere, the Permanent Secretary of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare, Mr. M.P. Kunaka. Allow me to write on the protocol already established. I stand before you as your child's president, proud to be part of this monumental day. Before we go any further, I would like to give the most thanks to His Excellency, President Dr. Idim Nangago, for his unwavering support and leadership of the government. It is in his vision and commitment to the youth of Zimbabwe that guides the vital work we are launching here today. With this launch of the National Multi-Sectoral Framework, we are proving our dedication to the future. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, and Zimbabwe is already halfway there. I also want to thank our guest of honor, Honorable Minister Edgar Moy, for being here to stand with the children. We deeply appreciate the hard work of the Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare. As well as the United Nations and all government departments, we thank you for putting your technical and financial backing into this plan. The children are forever grateful to our protectors who work endlessly to see this future come to life. Adolescent pregnancy is a real issue in our communities. It stops too many young people from reaching their full potential. What gives us hope is that this new framework brings everyone to the table to tackle this challenge together. You are making sure that young people get access to vital sexual and reproductive health services. You are focusing on empowering adolescents economically so they can stand with their own feet and build their resilient futures. And you are making sure that our families and local communities are strong enough to support us. Thank you to Goromonzi High School for hosting us today, and to my fellow students. This framework was built for us. Let us take this message back to our communities and make it work. Thank you to everyone who made this launch possible. Have a safe journey back home. God bless you, and God bless Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thank you, Child President. ZBCS Brass Band, muchitipa a piece, vakuru vedu, vachibuda, vachitioneka. Hakuna kusina favor naika.
Vakuru vedu vasati vabuda, ZBCS Brass Band, imbomira izvishoma. Regai, our guest of honor, mutitendere. Tidaidze muzukuru wa mambo. Atisvitsire maoko kuna mambo chikwaka. Atitendere basa rabatwa pano ibasa guru. Rinochengetedza misha yamadzimambo. Inochengetedza zvikoro navana vedu. Zvamataura nevatauriri vose pano kuti ndiyo nyika yamangwana, our guest of honor. Saka chiregai tichipira nokutenda kuna mambo chikwaka, mambo Goromonzi, muzukuru wa mambo.
ana mai nana baba ngatiuchire katatu tionekane namambo wedu. Mambo Chikwaka zousa manyanga murenye akusimuka chitunga.
Thank you, our guest of honor. With your permission, chinditenderai ndichiti munobvumidzwa zvenyu mochisimuka nevamwe maminista ose ari pakati penyu. Tinotenda our guest of honor say. Thank you. Provincial heads asina kumbodarikawo nepandiri. Mundionewo musati maenda. Provincial heads ese vauya pano vasina kumbopfuurawo nepandiri. Tinokumbirawo mugondionawo. Nyaya yacho mabva maiziwa.